Hi, everybody. I'm here with Bobby Kimani, and we're talking recruiter enablement. So I'm very excited to have Bobby on because we have had people in Africa on this channel, but we've not had anybody from Kenya, I don't think. So you're a first, you're a trailblazer. Thank you very much for joining me, Bobby.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adam. I appreciate the time and also making room for us to talk about all things recruitment. So just to introduce myself, my name is Bobby. I am a talent acquisition enthusiast. You can call me a startup whisperer because basically I have over a decade experience in being able to be in the HR space. And most recently, I'm currently leading the talent operations and analytics teams. That's basically dealing with the systems and understanding what basically works for the recruitment team, how we can be able to marry that to the business needs, and ensuring that we can be able to have fantastic systems coming along when it comes to us and everything to do with talent acquisition and recruitment, while we put in a bit of spice into diversity, equity, and inclusion. Talk to me.
Wonderful. Right. Okay. Well, I mean, this channel's about recruiter enablement, but to be honest, given the introduction you just gave to your role, I think I just want to find out about your role. Like, what are the main objectives? What are you trying to achieve for the organization? And give us a good summary of what you have to do to achieve those objectives.
All right, so I will talk about it from a point of a baseline. So the baseline is let us hire the right people at the right time, within the right cost, and also ensuring that we can marry that to the business needs. So where my job comes in is to ensure that we can have the recruiters well equipped to having the right tools and systems that are going to enable them to be able to reduce on the bias, increase on the quality of hires, and also marry into ensuring that we can bring together the human touch and the tech spaces and having them come together to bring forth a fantastic running system that is not only an additive, but very multiplicative in terms of being a going concern as we move along.
Very interesting. Okay. And so in terms of the technology
Yes.
opportunity in there, you're trying to make things more automated, you're trying to make things faster, you're trying to what sorts of technologies are you interested in?
So I look at it from a point of number one, are we able to come up with fantastic applicant tracking systems that are able to ensure that we can sieve through the candidates that are coming in inbound?
Yep.
But before we can talk about the ATSs, it's good to put a disclaimer out there. Most people always think that you can find one system that does everything. Let's just break that here. It's not possible. So you can only find a system that can do most of it, but not all of it. So it's important for us as technologists, as enthusiasts who are actually in the TA spaces, to be able to understand that can we get at least 2 or 3 systems that can be able to communicate with each other, and then they can actually hold a helping hand. I call it the chain system. So if you look at how a chain is, it's always interlocked together.
Yep.
So when you find one chain, which is one system that is able to do AB, and another chain that can connect to the first chain, and a third chain that can interconnect with everything all together, you create a flow. So when I look at it from a point of, from a sourcing tools perspective, are we able to source in the candidates, bring them into the applicant tracking system? Within the ATS, can we integrate with systems like, because from an ATS perspective, I have been exposed to fresh teams, and most recently, my bread and butter is Greenhouse. So for Greenhouse, are we able to link it up to sourcing tools like LinkedIn Recruiter? Are we able to link it up to Google X-Ray? Are we linking it up to Amazing Hiring, where even if the recruiter is able to come in, are they able to have these systems in terms of a sourcing tool perspective to push through candidates into the ATS? So when they come into applicant tracking system, are we able to utilize the system 100% or integrate it to a booking system? And by scheduling tools and booking systems, we are talking about Calendly. By Calendly, can you integrate the two of them? In that, it saves on the time to hire and also saves on the time to source. Because at the end of the day, we have benchmarks we need to be able to put into play. according to what the market is requiring of us. So, and given that I'm in the fintech space, hiring will never stop. So we have evergreen roles that are also required in terms of pooling, and we also have roles that require us to hire people within the shortest time possible. Are we able to bring that all together in terms of the flow? And then last but not least, we look at it also from a communicative point of view, and this is where candidate experience comes in. So if I was a recruiter, I want to ensure that if I'm interviewing Adam, is he able to understand that I am engaged to finding out who he is and how his experience is? So I always partition recruiters into three forms. We have recruiter A, who can be able to type while talk, right? Recruiter B is more of a talker, less of a typer. And recruiter C is very disengaged. So they're not going to talk to you, they're going to constantly type. And they actually report themselves prior to say, I'm not going to look at you, I'm going to type most of the time, right? But how does that affect candidate experience? And now this is where we include artificial intelligence. Do we have AI like MetaView that can join into the call according to a consent point of view and be able to come in and record and transcribe the call as I'm engaging with you to make you feel more at home and more at ease to be able to give your best work in terms of the interview process?
I've got so many additional questions. One of them is, now, please forgive my ignorance because I don't know anything about the recruiting scene in Kenya.
Yes.
How many companies in Kenya are using things like Amazing Hiring and MetaView and Greenhouse? I mean, that would be quite common in London or in Berlin, but is that type of tech stack common in Kenya?
It is quite common in Kenya, but if we look at it from a perspective of funnel, so from the outside looking in, we are looking at it from a point of, because currently at the moment, I am fortunate enough to work for an organization that is fully distributed. So we are fully remote where we work with different time zones. So I have 4 to 5 time zones that I'm working with, but I have also been able to work with a local organization within Kenya, for Kenya and for Africa. And I would say, yes, it is, because at the end of the day, what is our why? What is our why behind it? Why are we doing this? We are hiring the best talent that we can get within a specific period of time. So do we need to involve all hands on deck? Yes. Do we need an agency? Yes. Do we need a sourcing tool? Yes. Are we able to incorporate that in terms of tech? Yes, still. So if those are the questions that we are asking behind it in terms of what our why is, I would say from a local perspective to answer your question, yes, we are using these tools.
And I think what you've described is, I think we've got to think about it in terms of this experience design. We've got to think about it from the perspective of not just the candidate, but what's the experience for the recruiter? How many times do they have to toggle around different things, and how can we make it easy for them? Is that an objective?
Yes, it is. It is an objective, and it goes back again to how you set up your talent acquisition team. So, and we look at it. I like giving people options, because someone will come and give you a recruitment team that is based off of a very heavy funding backbone. But then we also have companies that start from a bootstrapping perspective, right? So are we able to balance the two? So if I look at it from a bootstrap perspective, your TA team needs to have a coordinator or a talent operations person who's supposed to be able to specialize in the systems behind it. And then we need a recruiter who's also multi-skilled in being able to do the sourcing, right? And then also the talent operations coordinator needs to also become an employer branding champion. So when you marry the two and be able to merge that, you have a bootstrapping system. But for a well-established TA team, we have sourcers, we have TA partners who are the recruiters, we have employer branding leads and specialists, then we have a talent operations and analytics team. So the TA ops and analytics team deals with what? The recruitment metrics that we are supposed to actually live by, and then also anything and everything to do with the systems. Going back to your question of, are they able to maneuver through the systems? Yes, it's because we have a clear way of who does what. So given that the TA ops team deals with the systems and the operations behind it, we take on the heavy lifting of, are we able to do the automation on behalf of the recruiters? Are we able to build out any templates that need to be built out So the recruiter can only focus on getting the right person and giving us the right availabilities for them to be able to do the same. And then the only thing they need to do is to plug and play. And by plugging and play is, am I able to move past a person from round 1 to round 2? And they know that there's an automated email that goes out with my name on it and with my booking link on it. So it's nothing to do with me going back and doing the heavy lifting. It's about me showing up on the call and being prepped for the candidate as a recruiter.
You talked about employer branding briefly. My view is that recruitment is more of a marketing job than it ever has been.
Yes.
And like, I'd be interested to know if you agree. And how do you how do you equip recruiters with the right marketing assets?
By looking at it anti-marketing. Follow me on this one, all right? So, so we always misconstrued employer branding with marketing. And I always say, like, employer branding is basically, why should I be part of this team? Why should I leave my comfortable job that I have been with for 5 years and take a risk with you, you know? And it goes back to belonging, inclusion, and diversity. So I look at it from a point of how we can equip a recruiter is, number one, I look at it from a heart perspective. Brené Brown is someone that I really value in terms of the books that I read, in terms of vulnerability and management of teams. And starting with your heart first, then with your skills second is quite important. Having the courage to be able to tell someone the truth in terms of what is behind the scenes is very, very important. So how we equip our recruiters is this. Number one, if you were the one on the other side of the divide, would you want them to come in? If you are the one on the other side of the divide, what would you want them to know about your organization, right? And it goes back to our values and our mission and our vision. How do we outplay that in being able to have, say, Adam, who has been very seasoned for years, wants to get back into the employment space again and took a hiatus for a while, right? But wants to come back in. Will he be discriminated against just because he took a break? And how do we pack that from a recruitment perspective? If, say, we have someone who was a mom or probably currently is expectant, and they're afraid that probably it's a risk to be able to change jobs, are we able to package that for them in terms of employer branding? If we have someone who's disabled or probably identifies as a person with disability, are we able to share that outright on the onset, on the first interview session, or on the first interaction in terms of emails and how our templates are looking? Are we able to give that from a point of security for them? And then another thing that is very important is we give our teams a lot of documentation because candidates always ask questions. Yeah. So openness is very important for us. It's important for us to be able to give them the right documentation that they can share out with the candidates for them to feel like they have enough information for them to make the right decision. Because I'm always pro giving, I'm anti high level. I'm very anti-high level documentation or high level information. Yep. If Adam is asking, what is my medical cover looking like? Am I able to give every information in terms of percentages and everything altogether? I do not know if he has a pre-existing condition or not, but if they ask that on round one, are we able to provide that, or are we going to constantly, quote unquote, bullshit them until the end of the sessions and the end of the rounds and then tell them that, oh, this is what we have to offer, and probably it's way below what he's expecting. So we try to ensure that we don't waste time and ensure that we can be able to create our brand in terms of honesty.
Wonderful. Bobby, we've covered a lot of subjects today, and I've really benefited from learning from you. So thank you very much for your time. I'd love to do it again, maybe in a couple of months, because I'm conscious we've just kind of skimmed a lot of different things, and I can tell from your answers you've got so much more to talk about on a lot of this. So I really appreciate you joining me, and yeah, looking forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Adam. I appreciate it, and thank you for the time. And in case of anything, I'm a call or an email away. All right.
Thanks, Bobby. That was brilliant.